Hey, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. Thanks, Squarespace. Yay. Hey, wow. Hi, I see you there. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Thomas Brush. I'm the creator of a game called Neversong and also a game called Pinstripe. Both of those games you can check out in the links in the description. And if you want to learn how I made those games for pretty much every platform on the planet and how I make games full-time, you can check out fulltimegamedev.com. It's an online course that I'm creating. It's really cool, guys. Click the links in the description. Okay, so today I want to talk about something that's really exciting, really dear to my heart, and that is, are publishers actually necessary as an indie game developer? Do we need publishers anymore in the year of 2020 and beyond? Well, I had a really good conversation with a good friend of mine named David Wehle. And David's kind of on the fence about publishers, whereas I'm kind of all good with publishers. I tend to work with publishers and I enjoy it and it's fun and it makes things a lot easier as an indie game developer. So let's take a look at this clip and really get a refresher. And honestly, guys, David's smarter than me, so you should really listen to David. Oh, and by the way, have you clicked that like button? Or maybe just given it a little tickle? Just tickle that like button. Thank you. That would really mean a lot to me. Let's go. Okay, guys, before we get started, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. Believe it or not, I've been wanting Squarespace as a sponsor for so long, mainly because Squarespace is awesome. I've been using Squarespace for, I think, 6 years. Both my websites, thomasbrush.com and atmosgames.com, where I host my games and my portfolio, my resume, all that cool stuff is hosted on Squarespace. It was created with Squarespace. Squarespace is cool because you can look amazing, you can have custom designs and pretty much do anything you need to do for your business or your own personal brand, all with Squarespace, and you don't have to know how to code. So if you guys are interested in creating a website with Squarespace, click the link below, squarespace.com/ThomasBrush, and use the promo code ThomasBrush for 10% off. Yay, yay, I love Squarespace, I really do. Thanks, Squarespace.
You know, and this reminds me of something that I love, you know, celebrating our similarities. Me and Thomas Brush, I think that's cool. We have so much, we have so much, you know, that's similar. But I think the biggest difference between us is you're very experienced and you're very like publisher driven. And I tell people exactly the opposite. I say people, you do not need a publisher. Right. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on like, you're a big cheerleader for publishers and for the smaller publishers. And I feel like I'm the opposite, where I'm like, publishers, they're a middleman. You can self-publish on consoles by yourself. You don't need them.
Well, it depends, right? So, and then I would love to hear your opinion, the other side of it. So for me, publishers provide two things, and these are not traditional things. Traditionally, a publisher provides you with marketing, distribution, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's not really what a publisher, in my opinion, should be offering you as a game developer. Because you don't really need, you don't really need someone to help you with distribution, in quotes. Mm-hmm. Like that's basically a glittering generality that means nothing now. Because Steam is handling your distribution. Switch is handling your distribution. Right. If you were selling books, you would need help. But you're not selling books. You're selling digital copies, little keys of your game. Right. So where a publisher provides value is they give you money so that you can quit your job so you don't have to be miserable. That's the first part. So 50,000 to like 200 grand, bang, in your account, and you can get started. They're going to take 30% of your revenue or 50% or whatever. But at least you can quit your job and make your game twice as fast.
Full time.
Right.
Yeah.
Full time with so basically you're working for a publisher now, right?
Yeah.
And then what they're going to do is they're going to recoup that. So not only are they going to take 40%, they're also going to recoup it up. So when I launched Pinstripe, I had to recoup a certain amount of money that I can't disclose. Mm-hmm. And it was so painful because it was like 4 months of not making any of that money. But I realized, I was like, well, at least I was able to quit my job and finish this thing, because I wouldn't have finished it otherwise, you know? So that's the first step, or the first reason why I love publishers is just money. Mm-hmm. So basically they're just investors, really. They're not really publishing, they're just investing.
So the big number one thing is like the freedom to focus full time on your game.
Yep. And you get rid of that misery of, and so like now the question is, well, Thomas, why do you want to work with publishers again when you said you were in a really good position financially? Well, I'm only going to work with a publisher if they can provide developers. So in a sense, I'm not really partnering with publishers anymore. I'm partnering with developers that work at a publisher. So that's why I love Serenity Forge. Serenity Forge handles publishing and they handle development if you're willing to negotiate a reasonable revenue share. I've come to discover that sometimes almost half of the revenue is reasonable because they cut your development time down. You don't have to worry about all of these different variables about making a game because they're handling a huge boulder of development that you otherwise couldn't do, you know? So that's my only two reasons.
That makes sense. It's just interesting. There's so many ways to go around it because I like staying independent. Did I tell you I had big publishers approach me for the first tree. One was so big, I don't even know if I can say it, but they do AAA games. And I was so freaked out by it because I was like, oh, this could be life-changing. But then I started thinking about it and how I liked the hobbyist aspect of it and how like I didn't have to answer to anybody. I think what's cool about your deal with Serenity Forge is you're the creative director. Like you have full creative control. Is that right?
So I've signed 3 publisher agreements in the past. One of them I got completely screwed over and I learned my lesson, right? And I had an attorney for all 3. And so the first attorney was like, for the first publishing agreement was like, Thomas, be careful of all of these things. And I ignored him and just signed anyway. That was a terrible agreement. The other two that I signed, my attorney was like, you've got to tell them that you're in complete control of everything. And I said, okay. And so I told the publisher, I told Armor Games and Serenity Forge, and this is fine. They wouldn't mind me telling you. I told them that I was in complete control, and they were like, we trust you. I don't know why. Wow,
that's awesome. That's like a dream team.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And so it wasn't just control of the art or the game. It was control of the schedule, everything. Mm-hmm. So like, I didn't even have a schedule in the contract. A lot of publishers will be like, and you know, this is fair. If I was a publisher, I would demand this. I would say, look, if I'm going to give you $100,000, you need to get the game done in a year. Like I can't just sit here and wait for 4 years to get my money back. Mm-hmm. So I get that from a publisher perspective, but the publishers I've worked with, Serenity Forge and Armor Games, I connected really well with the CEOs. Like we're like friends. Like I text Armor Games CEO all the time. Serenity Forge's CEO, his name is Z.
Z is the man. He's awesome. He's so nice.
He's so great, and he's probably we're all kind of the same age, I think. So we sort of are in a similar age group, and we just, at least me and Z, I mean, we connect really well. Jive. We just jive, and so there wasn't a need for him to go, well, I want you to have the game done in, a year, and I want, this is what the budget is, and I want to have, a say in the creative direction. He didn't say any of that. He just said, make a great game, Thomas, and here's a developer to help you out. And to me,
That's cool. That's awesome.
That is a really great deal. And I when I signed the deal with Serenity Forge, I was like, wait, is this a bad idea? Because I gave up a good chunk of revenue. And over the years, I learned this was the best thing that could have happened, because we made a really good game with the help of Eric, who was the developer, the coder. Eric programmed an amazing game, and I was able to focus all my attention on what I do well.
Right.
And we partnered with Apple. We got a front page on Steam for 5 days. We're about to launch on Switch and
that's amazing.
And a few other platforms.
So it just an indie
worked
success.
out.
That's an indie success by far.
Yeah, and so I want to know your perspective on things, though. Like, do you feel like if a publisher would have said, "I want you to have full creative control," would you have considered signing with them?
Oh man, that's interesting question. I'm thinking about how it worked out for you and how it's been great. Here's something I do want to say. This is to everybody listening. If it's your very first game and you're just getting out of, you're just finally entering this whole new world of game development, and you get a bunch of publishers that you've never heard of saying, "Hey, let me help you with marketing and publishing."
Yes,
I would say
I agree.
99.9% that is not a deal you want to make.
Yes.
And I would say you have an awesome partnership with Serenity Forge. And it sounds awesome. I might be tainted by, when I was working on Home is Where One Starts, countless publishers saying, "Oh, yeah, you need us. Like, you're not going to succeed without us." And all they do is siphon. It's all they do is they've slapped their name on it on the Steam page, and they siphon 40% of your funds for no reason. But what you did is you made games first, and you made a name for yourself. You had Unity fly out, make a film about you, and you finished games. That's the way to get a publisher. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
What I would say is, when you're first starting off, making your very first small games, I don't think there's any reason to get a publisher at the beginning.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point and a really good perspective. I always say, me and my wife talk about this. I talk about work a lot, and she probably gets annoyed.
Like my wife. Yeah, okay.
But when we talk, I always say, I'm just so lucky to have a really dedicated YouTube audience, because if I ever get screwed over by a publisher, they're not going to be happy. My backers, people who got my back. And so I always say, if you're gonna partner up with a company that you don't know, be sure you've got some ammunition.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they do. I promise you, they do. They've got money. They've got a team of people.
Got lawyers.
They've got lawyers. They've got everybody. And this is not true for Serenity Forge or Armor Games at all. But I can speak to having experience with another publisher where behind closed doors, like I'm in South Carolina, they're off in California or somewhere, or where were they? They were somewhere in the Midwest. And I knew that they were talking about what they were going to do to screw me over. And they didn't see it that way. They just saw it as business as usual.
Yeah.
But what they were doing to screw over an 18-year-old, well, I didn't know any of that. And so I wasn't talking to them. And so they had all this ammunition against me, this power. And so it's really important for indie developers to have power behind them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be cash. It definitely can be a lawyer that you paid $4,000 to help you out. But it can also be in the form of a social media following, which is so huge. And you're doing that right now, and you're killing it. You're doing a really good job. And I want all of my all of the people watching this or listening to this podcast to know that you can't put a price tag on an army that supports you.